Okay, this video is going to be a tutorial on how to do Micrography Practice Part 1. This is the module, and you're going to see here there are two links available for you. The Abraham Lincoln, which is going to take you to an image, and then there is 7 years ago, which is a text that we'll use for this assignment. So Micrography is about creating an image using text, and this is the text and this is the image. So we'll click on the Abraham Lincoln image. Excuse me. And we're going to want to download this image. Okay. Now, if we go to that image, if I go to my F3 key and go to my downloads, I've already practiced this once before, so that's why I have two images here. So I'm going to double tap on my trackpad and go to Open With and select Photoshop. So I have my image. Now my image is photographic. It's just black and white, but still has all the grays and detail. We're going to first stylize this image into threshold, but before we do that, we will duplicate this image. If we come over and we can two-finger touch on this and duplicate this layer, or we could use Command J on our keyboard as our quick command. Okay. Now we're going to go up to Image, Adjustments, and then Threshold. Now, you're at some point, well, after this practice image, this lesson, you're going to have an opportunity, of course, to do your own creative version of this. And with Threshold, just like we were doing with Pop Portrait, when you do something like this where we stylize it, it can really determine a lot because we lost a lot of the information on this image by deleting out all those grays, and we're just left with a very high contrast black and white image. So, and we lose a lot of information in that process, just as right in here, the shadow area, even in his eyes, the shadowy kind of area, his eyebrows are now just kind of joined in with the shadow, and it just kind of all connects right here. So, and we also lost his ear over here. Okay. But if we slide this over to the right, the dark areas get larger and the light areas get smaller. We start to actually start to really lose some things, but we're starting to get some details in his kind of facial features in terms of his wrinkles and such. But if we go over to the left, the black area shrinks and the white areas expand. But if we go to a certain degree, we start to lose his nose, we start to lose his lips, start to lose the side of his face here. But we do start to gain some more detail, such as in his eyes. So it's something you just gotta play around with and work with when you get ready to do your own image. Okay, for the sake of this lesson, we're going to do, if I click up here, I'm going to put this at 120. Okay, so for the sake of this lesson, let's just put it at 120. So click OK. All right, so we want to name this layer threshold. So I'm going to double click on the title and title this threshold. Okay. Now that we have that, we're actually going to put a gray layer in between these two images. Okay, if I go back and click on my background layer, I'm going to two-finger touch, and nope, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to come down here to new layer. I thought there was a way to do that, two-finger touch in that image. So now we got a new layer. We want to paint this gray. Okay, so in order to see that, let's go ahead and turn the eye off on the top layer here. Now we can see this bottom layer, but we have this middle layer selected. And we're going to come over here and make sure with our foreground color, we want to select a value that is a mid value on the color picker. Okay, so that's already there because I've already practiced this once before, and that's why it was there. If it's not there, just make sure that circle is right here between the white and the black to get a mid gray, and we're going to click OK. Now we're going to select our paint bucket tool and come over and paint this area. Now you notice our thumbnail is gray, and we want to retitle this gray. We can name it gray layer. Okay. So we got our gray layer, we got our threshold layer, and we got our original image on the bottom. Okay. Now at this point, we want to select the top layer, and we're ready to start putting in some text. Okay. Now before we do that, I want to do something that I made a mistake of earlier and had some difficulty with. So you want to come over here and select the text tool, and we want to change the color. Okay, our text will not show unless we change this gray. It's the same gray as this gray. So we want to make sure it's black. Select black, click OK. Now right now it says 9-point Times New Roman. All that may change. We'll see what happens when we do this next step. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our text tool, which we have selected, come up here in the upper left hand corner and click and hold and drag. And we're not going to stop right in this bottom right hand corner. We want to extend down below and off to the right of that corner and then release. Now there is a reason for this, and I'll explain it a little better here in the future. I might actually pull this out a little further if I wanted to. And now we need our text. Okay, so this is where the other link on our module comes in. So I'm going to click the F3 key and go back to our module. And I'm going to click this link, which will take us to text in my Google Drive. And I'm going to select all this text. This is a speech he is famous for 7 years ago. So I'm going to Command C to copy. And I'm going to hit F3 to go back to my Photoshop layer. Click in the upper left hand corner to make sure I have a cursor there. And I'm going to Command V to paste. Okay. Now it looks good right now. Okay. But let me just say this. Let me undo this just to try something. What if yours turns out looking like that, which it probably will. Okay. We need to make sure and have it just the way I had it when I copied and pasted it. And the reason it looked that way is because I had already practiced this once before. And you can see this text looks legible, it's large, it's not on top of each other, but that's actually the way we want to make this. Okay, this is not the way we want to make this. The text is just going to be used for the purpose of making our image. Okay, and so what we need to do is adjust the text so it becomes more of like a field of gray, kind of like optical blending. Okay, optical blending is much like what's used in hatching and cross hatching. The smaller the spaces, the darker the value. The bigger the spaces and more spread out, the lighter the area. Okay, that is the nature of hatching, cross hatching, and optical blending. We can do the same thing with text. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and select all of our text, and we're going to make it 9-point because we want to shrink it down. If we shrink it down, it'll kind of make it more condensed. Okay, That's the best way to explain it, more condensed. Now, there's something called leading. Okay, leading is the space in between the top and bottom, or the space in between the sentences. Okay, the lettering. The space in between is called leading, and we want to adjust that so that they're not really overlapping, but they're just kind of tight. So we'll go to this icon, which is called character. Now, if that is not showing for you, you can go to that through view or no window, and then make sure character is selected. And this is going to pop out for you. Okay. Now, this right here, this is your leading. Okay. You can see that. And it has a little A above a A. Okay. So we're going to change this from auto to 9. Now, I found 9 to be a good size. And also I found 9 point to be a good size for our font. And we're also using Times New Roman as our font. So when you get ready to do your image, maybe you're going to want to do something different. It's up to you. Okay. Right now that feels pretty condensed. It feels pretty tight. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I think that's going to work for us. Okay. So this space right here and this space right here isn't really going to work for us. We need a solid field of text. So what we're going to get rid of that, we're going to come to but here and put our cursor and hit delete. And that's going to bring us back up to the end of where it says do this. And I'm going to go up to now and put my cursor right there and hit delete and get rid of that space. So now we have a solid area of text. And now I'm going to select all this text, copy it, come down to the end of that paragraph, and paste it, and paste it, and paste it, and keep pasting it until I've completely filled this area. Okay? And there we have it. We have a complete field of text. It's condensed, it's tight. I think it's going to work for our image, and you'll see what I mean. Okay? If our text was still originally at 12 point, kind of large, our leading spaced out, we would kind of lose our image if that were to occur. Okay, and this is something you want to play with when you get ready to do your image. Okay, this is a very important step. Okay, so I'm going to go to check on that. All right, now I'm actually going to duplicate this layer. Now that we have all this text, we're going to do a white version and a black version of the text. So I'm going to go over to the text. I'm going to two-finger touch, and I'm going to duplicate this layer. Now, the top layer, we can make it our white layer. We want to rename it to white. And this layer, that was the original layer, we'll make it black. Okay, so this text layer is already black, but we don't have this layer as white. So we need to select this layer, make sure our text tool is selected, come up to the upper left-hand corner, click and drag and select all this text. I think I'm missing just a little bit of it right there. Oops. Let me try that one more time. I keep moving it. I wonder if I go Command All. Yes, makes it so much easier. Command A. So now it looks like it's white text, but that's just because it's selected. Okay. This tells us what the color of the text is. So I'm going to select on that, select white as our color, click OK. And now when I hit the check, you're going to see we have white text, okay? If I turn this eye off, we have our black text underneath. We have our white text on top, okay? I know that was a lot of explanation. It might take you a little while to get to where you can get all this worked out like that, but this is where we're at, okay? Now we need to rasterize our text layers. The way we do that is we two-finger touch on those and go to rasterize type. Now we have a checkerboard. I'm going to click the eye off on that. Select my black layer, two-finger touch on the trackpad, rasterize that layer. And now we have checkerboard here. Okay. Okay, now we're going to cut the eye off on that layer, and we're now going to go back to our threshold layer. This is where our threshold layer comes into play. Okay? Now, what we want to do is we're actually going to put black text for the black areas, and we're going to put white text for the white areas. Okay? And this is how we're going to do that. If you come over to your tools, and this is my quick select tool, but we want the magic wand tool. If the magic wand tool isn't there, such as my quick selection, you're going to need to click on that and find the magic wand. Click on that, and we're going to select the white area of this image. Okay, now notice it selected everything white. Make sure that this contiguous box is unchecked. Mine is unchecked. Make sure yours is too. Okay. Now we're going to go and select the black layer. Okay. And we're going to turn that layer on. Now there is actually black text that goes all through this black area. Okay. And when we go to erase, we're not going to be erasing that area because we have everything selected within the white area. Okay, so just watch. So I'm going to come here and select my eraser tool. And I want to make it large. I want to make it really big. And now I'm just going to start swiping back and forth. It looks like I'm getting rid of all the text, right? I am in the white areas, but only the white areas. So I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. And I'm going to come over, and if you look at my little thumbnail here, you can see a little ghostly image of Lincoln. Okay. If I click the eye on the threshold layer, ta-da! We have Abraham Lincoln made out of text. Okay. If I zoom in, you'll see what I mean. Now, this is, imagine if my text was large text, it was spaced far apart, I would not be able to make out these shapes very well. Okay. It's like we're making an image, an abstract image, abstract, you know, and less information we get, the more and more it's just implied. Okay. So in actuality, this edge here that we have, this is an implied edge. There's no connected shape making his contour or these shapes. It's just the gaps in between and where these letters stop, our eye imagines there being a completed edge there. Okay. But again, it's just kind of very broken up in terms of how the edge is. It's giving us very little detail. Okay. And that's why we have the small text. Okay. That's why I talked so long about that. Now we need to do this with the white text as well, because we need the white text in the white areas. Okay. So we're going to click off on the black area, come back and select the threshold, cut it on, come here and select our magic wand tool, select the black areas, cut the white on, select it, and then we're going to take the eraser, back out on this a little bit, and start erasing. Again, you would think I'm erasing all the white, but I'm only erasing the white that's in the black area. Okay, so I'm going to come over, and you can see that by if I select the threshold and cut the eye off. Ta-da! Now we got white in the white areas. Now I still have my selection, so I'm going to go Command D to deselect. Now, check this out. Let's see what this looks like when I cut the black layer back on. How about that? Right? Pretty cool. We have white text creating the light areas. We have black text creating the black areas. And this gray is just creating a little bit of contrast in between. Okay? Now, there is more to be done. Okay? For one thing, we don't need all this white text in the background. It's competing with the white text that's here. Okay? Also, remember how we lost his ear over here? We can bring that ear back. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So first of all, let's cut the gray layer off. Okay, and let's zoom into this ear. Okay, now notice the white does come over into the ear a little bit here. Okay, and the white, you can see we've got a gap right here, right? So we're going to try to get rid of all the white out here in the background, right? But we don't want to get rid of this white because that makes his ear, right? We see a little suggestion of his ear right there in that gray, right? So I'm going to come here and grab my eraser. My eraser is selected. I want to select my white layer. That's because, as you noticed earlier, I had a little circle with the cross to it. I can't do anything because I was on the wrong layer. So select the white layer. Now my eraser is way too big. I need to make that smaller. Now I'm going to try to recreate the ear, and I'm going to erase the white text that's on the outside of that. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start erasing the white text outside of Abraham Lincoln, just like that. And now I have his ear. Okay, now this part of the white of the ear that's going right here, I'm just going to click and drag and get rid of the white. Try to leave that little bit of white that's on the edge of his ear. And there's that. So now I just need to work my way around the rest of the image. Since I'm right up against black, I really don't have to worry about erasing, because it won't erase the black, because remember the black is on a different layer. This white text is the only thing on this layer that I can possibly erase. So I'm going to continue down. Now here I kind of need to recreate that edge right there for his collar. Come over, start erasing up through here. Erase all the way around the edge of this. And then I can increase the scale of my eraser. Just wipe out these large areas. Okay. Now that we've done that, we are going to cut the gray layer back on. And we are essentially done at this point. Okay. We have created Abraham Lincoln, or recreated Abraham Lincoln out of black text, white text, and we have a gray in between. And we can still see the image. So let's get back to the original image. Okay. Obviously, it's a stylized abstraction, but it's more or less a graphic now. Okay. This is a technique that's sometimes used. We're going to do more with this at this, in part two. But part one, we have completed part one. And what I want you to do is go ahead and save this as a JPEG and turn this in. But then you're also make sure you save the Photoshop version of this, the .psd file, because we are going to have a part two. Okay? And that is it for now.